What's good people, it's Kay, and today we're reacting to RWBY Volume 8, Chapter 9. Why do I do this to myself? All I know is that it's Boom Squad time. That's all that matters. How are there still going to be 5 more episodes of this season after this? I don't understand. I'm ready. Well, I mean, maybe. Ooh, a lot of bodies. What were those? This big guy needs like a napkin or something. Having fun yet?
Well, that was harrowing.
We're not in the clear yet. We still have to search this whole thing and find Oscar before the Aesop's blows to pieces.
How are we supposed to find Oscar? It's going to be like finding a needle in a giant whale. Why did we think this was a good idea?
I love it.
I might be able to help. I can sense spikes of people's emotions, I think. It
You
happened
think?
on the winter ship. If I focus my aura, I can keep it up.
Okay, that's new. Maybe one of them is Oscar?
I can sort of tell where they are.
Here's
but
hoping.
not who. They're more or less in the same area, though.
Just like try not to open the wrong door.
Hey, you don't have to drain yourself. I can help too.
Yeah. Good thinking. Thanks.
Is he feeling guilty?
The way.
Stop. Stop. Stop.
She brushed off her bumps and bruises. Nothing hurt worse than the loneliness in her chest.
I recognize that. The girl who fell through the world.
Huh?
I shouldn't be surprised you're so familiar with fairy tales.
I've lived through my share of them.
Yes.
How are you holding up?
Well,
I thought the idea of falling through Remnant into a new world was exciting.
really?
I understood why she was so sad when she finally made it back home. But now, it makes more sense.
She wasn't the same girl anymore.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think this plan to divide might have run its course. It's time we start thinking about a way out. Not having arcane
Come
certainly
on.
limits the options, so
Ye of little faith.
I don't like what happens when we use magic. Every time we use it, I can feel us merging faster.
I see.
Not ready for that.
I don't blame you. Honestly, I think you're doing just fine on your own.
Oh shit. Bruh.
Listen up, everyone. We're keeping this LZ clear for the payload. We're going to put aboard that thing.
Is that
If we can't
Team
hold
Funky?
this line, it will continue to spit out Grim, and we lose the city. Is that understood?
Yes, ma'am.
You
Look at
wouldn't
that.
happen to know a tune for this, huh?
I don't know that anybody does.
Another wave incoming. Keep them back.
Move, move, move!
Are we gonna see them? Are we gonna see like a big set piece?
You can hash out your issues later. Right now, just kill Grim.
Oh, I love it. The trauma. I love it. It's so juicy. So tasty. But we're here. We're doing this.
You bring me here.
I've been thinking about what you said.
Verification.
Lie. And I took that lie to Salem. The punishment would fall on my head before yours. If what you said
I
is
suppose
true,
so.
and I use the password myself, well, I don't know what happens when this thing activates. So let's see if you're bluffing.
Well, that and there's only one question left.
Want me to summon her?
Either way, it'll tell me what I need to know.
Interesting.
What are you doing?
So we're all in this together, huh?
Let's find out.
Jin,
How exciting. It's been so long. Yep.
Why, hello again, old man. Did you have a question for me?
Actually, I think all my questions are answered now.
What are you going to do?
What Gretchen would have done. And that starts with getting you away from here.
Oh,
Both of you.
just like that.
I'm going to need something before I go.
So, just to be clear, none of you have a question for me?
No, but we'll be bringing you with us.
Ah, damn.
The moment we move that thing, this place goes on high alert. Better to get you out first.
But
I'll come back for it. Not like she
Will
knows
you?
the password anyway.
I don't know, bro. I just... See, now... Neo. Of all people, Neo. What's her game?
sorry.
It's not your fault. I'm masking and tracking at the same time.
Do you guys need a minute?
We don't know how much longer we have. Why don't you give masking a break? Give me directions and I can scout ahead.
Thanks. We should be heading straight for a while.
Look at this.
Well, at least you guys being friends again takes the sting out of impending doom.
It's okay to be afraid, you know. You don't always have to hide it with a joke.
Glad I'm not the only one who's scared.
Of course I'm scared. Him, on the other hand, there's no fear at all.
Do y'all want to catch up to him?
He believes we're going to get this done.
Then I do too.
Oh, no, there he is.
Yeah, mask is ready.
This... I'm not going to say it. Oh dear. Oh dear.
You sure he'll be okay on his own?
I don't know. We just need to get... Wait.
Ha. Ha. Oh dear.
Ah, Hazel. Have you gotten what we need yet?
Oh no. Oh no.
The Seers. Seems we have guests. The lamp. Find them.
Oh shit.
What now?
Let's do what we do best. Charge blindly into danger.
Would have gone
Love
with
it.
keep moving forward, but sure. Ren,
Forward. No matter what.
Alright then. Boom squad. Let's go. It's interesting to see these guys like involved in this.
How much longer for the payload?
It's approaching the LZ now.
Oh. Time really is running out.
come on, Juan.
Wait a minute. He really got his name wrong again. That's crazy.
You.
No! Wait! Stop!
Oscar!
What?
I knew I sensed some weak minds nearby.
What's...
Oh, that was Emerald doing that.
It's a long story.
You're gonna have to try and summarize it. Why should we trust you?
Because she's scared.
Ren, please.
Like us.
Or maybe because I know how to get out of here. Anybody coming?
She's also simping hard for Cinder, but that's another story.
This is it, everyone.
Oh
We're
man.
gonna clear a path to that monster. We get the payload aboard, set the timer, and then we're out.
They might still be alive in there.
I gave them their window. We We can't wait any longer.
Would you
Yeah.
do the same thing if it was your sister inside? Are you gonna tell her what you did to her friends?
Yes, Mary. Because that's my duty. Now you do yours.
I feel Winter, man. She's in an impossible position.
We're almost out.
So, Hazel,
What is that?
Salem, and Neo. Is that what we're dealing with? No. Oh. Oh my. Oh my. Hey, yo.
You really have been honing that semblance of yours.
Bruh. Why? Why would you make it look like that? That was so creepy.
Let them go.
Oh yeah. Hey. Hey, yo.
What did you do with the lamp?
Nothing.
It's missing.
Frickin' Neo.
Where is it?
What has she
I
done?
didn't do anything with it.
Where is it? Look how you've diminished. How you've lessened yourself. And for what? These children? This ruined world? Why
Hey.
do you keep coming back?
Why do you?
Go on, Yang.
All of this endless death. Because something bad happened to you once upon a time? Nobody gets a fairy tale ending. Everything I've lost, every person I've lost, is because of you.
And who is it I've taken from you, girl?
Summer Rose. My mom.
Her again?
Oh my goodness. Stop smiling like that.
Hazel,
What's he gonna do?
I found our guests.
The wild card.
This one was helping them. Take the boy back to his chamber. I have work to do with this one.
Oh dear. Is that the work that I'm thinking of? What is he going to do?
No more Gretchen's boy.
You got him, Kane.
I really don't know.
Ooh. I don't even know what to think right now. My mind is just going. Hey, big man. Go on, man. This isn't gonna end well for him, though, is it?
Hazel.
Go.
So, you've decided against vengeance for your sister after all this time.
I'm doing what Gretchen would have done.
Go on. What can he do? He has said he's already killed her in the past. Oh. That splatter motion was wild.
Come on, everyone, out! Wait, Oscar?
What's he doing?
Just come after us.
This is true. Yo. Ow. Fam. What's he gonna do? Ooh. Clever.
Do it.
Go on. Oh. What was that? What did he just do? You can't end like that. Come on. For fuck's sake. Ah, my heart. My heart is just going. For fuck's sake. Alright, we're done here. This show, of all the cliffhangers they could have used, and they went with that one. They even had the fade to white and everything. Alright, look, let's not bury the lead any longer. This is an episode where everyone involved is forced to take action. From the people on the front lines of the Atlas battle, to Yang's Broom Squad, from Emerald and Hazel to Oscar and Neo, and of course, Salem. We've seen characters in this show under pressure before. I love that we're seeing it in a new light with elevated stakes. Let me explain. With a storm, actions you can take fall under 3 stages or categories: before, during, and after. Last season was all about the build-up to Salem's arrival, so those actions are before the storm. This season's actions during the storm. It seems obvious, right, when you put it that way? But let me explain what I'm thinking, because the way I see it, all of these stages are different from an emotional perspective as well as a chronological perspective. Actions you take in one stage are not the same as actions you take in another stage, even if they are similar. When you're taking action during the storm, you're focusing on what immediately needs to be done, and you have to roll with whatever punches might come your way. There isn't time to linger on complex feelings or fears. They need to be processed with a quickness so you can move on to whatever's next. And that's what this season has been about, largely. That's kind of what I mean by a different light. But of all the characters I just listed off, I'm most interested in focusing on the antagonists in this episode. It's more significant from their perspective. Emerald and Hazel finally snapping is demonstrative of something I've mentioned in previous episodes, which is the nature of Salem's loyalty, or the loyalty that she inspires. With those two in particular, just wasn't able to withstand immense pressure. For one thing, Emerald was loyal to Cinder, never to Salem. Of course, she would have no motive to stick to her aside from self-preservation. That's an easy one. Hazel's loyalty is a bit stickier, because vengeance is a much stickier motive. Moving on from that kind of loyalty would generally require him to move on from actually wanting to avenge his sister. But Oscar was able to push him into thinking more about following his sister's example, and living for her memory as a more effective outlet, rather than just trying to seek vengeance. Both Emerald and Hazel, when faced with the need to act, acted in defiance. And they're not the only ones, lest we forget about our favorite tiny ice cream lady. At least Emerald and Hazel have some kind of loyalty to each other. Neo has no loyalty to any of these people. It means nothing to her if they're all twisting in the wind. When she's pressed to act, she acts solely for her own interests. For a character who has never spoken, her direction is ironically easy to read. But Salem, we've never seen her hand forced like this. Not to the point where she has to be so direct. That's kind of been the point of her as a villain up until now. That she uses others as pieces to get what she wants, so that she doesn't have to do it herself. And even though it's something different from her, it's hard to call it rash or foolish like you might with a typical character who acts differently than normal. When we see this side of her, we get a bit closer to seeing more of the original her, the part of her that was still human. There's a little bit of a parallel between her and Ironwood, and I'm thinking specifically of the scene where she presses Emerald about losing the lamp. In that moment, she felt especially threatened in a way that must be rare for her, and she acted out of the ordinary as a result. When you think about the way Ironwood's acted since Salem appeared to him last season, you can see that they're not really so different at their cores. Their foremost cares are about different things, but they'll jump to protect those cares in similar ways. It's very human of both of them, and I find it very interesting that we're seeing that now. Alright, time for observations. I feel like there's more newsworthy stuff to talk about in this episode than we had in last week's. There's a difference between normal action and a full-on set-piece fight when it comes to this show. Up until now in this season, we've had pretty normal action with some shorter teasing kind of fights. Does this mean we're getting a bunch of the full-on fights packed into the final chunk of the season? I don't know how I'm going to process that, but I guess I'll have to somehow. I still can't believe they pulled the trigger on a Salem fight at this point in the season. Episode 9 is typically a cooldown point for a season. Do you remember episode 9 of Volume 5, that villains roundtable with Raven and Cinder? Then in Volume 6 you had the Pyrrha statue, and I knew that this was likely going to be an intense episode given where we were headed, but still. It was brief, but I enjoyed that interplay between Oscar and Ozpin. The fairy tales, Oscar's feelings about using his magic. It was very heartfelt, and I really feel like this whole experience has brought the two of them closer together in an emotional, understanding sense, and not just the merging souls sense. How about seeing Team Funky on the front lines? That was a bit of a blast. They're also clearly being used as a kind of example of the sort of stress that war can place you in as a young person. We can see that in Maru's reaction, and we all know the stories of kids their age who fought in the World Wars back in the day. It's also a bit of a callback to the old back and forths between Ozpin and Ironwood and the whole "can your children win a war" discussion. It's interesting to see Atlas children involved in that discussion now. These people are going to learn to stop summoning Jinn without a question. I am a bit surprised that neither Hazel nor Emerald actually asked one, and I think it was done for 2 reasons, or 3. First is just economy of time. The last time we asked Jinn an actual question, we got a 20-minute plus story, and sure, you can always do a cutaway and come back to it, but then there's the second reason, which is that the point of Oscar giving Hazel the password wasn't actually so that Hazel would find the truth from it, but more that seeing Jinn's existence would confirm his own feelings. And third, I don't think Emerald was just going to overrule Hazel and ask a question for herself, so I can understand if people think Hazel's brushing it all off was a bit weird, but again, I just think there was a different point to this whole endeavor than what we saw on the surface. I mean, Oscar's primary goal in giving him the password was to create true doubt in Hazel's mind and turn him against Salem. I think Oscar at that point had been able to read him enough that he trusted that even if Hazel used the question, he would do the right thing with the knowledge. As for Neo, why? What does she want with the lamp? Is she going to somehow take the last question? That might sound silly since we are talking about Neo after all, but I can somehow really see it happening. I mean, what else would she be doing with it? Taking it to Cinder? I don't think so. Just screwing with Salem? I think she's a bit more ambitious than that. Would she use it as a sort of bargaining chip? Possible, but with who? We'll have to wait and see. I'm gonna condense all of the Yang, Jean, and Ren, or as I like to call them, Yang's Boom Squad, material. I'm going to condense it all into one point. Mainly their material on this episode is stuff we've already been over in the past. Like Ren's coming around happened back in episode 7, and this provides just a bit more of a rounding off of his arc. You know, it clears up his dynamic with Yang and Jean in particular. What else? We see a bit more of Jean's up for it attitude. He's up for the fight and he's ready to go. He believes that we can do this. I mean, there's nothing new there. We see a bit more of Yang's opening up about how scared she is and her true feelings. There's nothing really new there either. I was actually pleasantly surprised that the episode didn't actually spend that much time focusing on these guys, because there's not much territory that hasn't been covered with them already. Not these versions of them anyway. It was a good move to economize their appearances and spend more screen time focusing on the other characters. I don't know why I keep calling them the Boom Squad either. If anything, they're more like the Rescue Squad. Now that they've succeeded in getting Oscar out, sort of, the idea to plant the bomb in the whale looks even better than it did originally. I've yet to see an argument as to why it ever was a bad idea. It's certainly better than some of Ironwood's other ideas. I wonder if the bomb insertion is going to be an entire thing in itself, with its own story beats. You know, that could well be how we find out the aftermath of this fight that we had. Yang's squad could well run into Winters on the way out. Shout out to Juan, by the way. I can't believe they brought that back. Should have called him Jim again for good measure. Alright, I'm gonna bitch a bit. Here goes Ren, explaining people's feelings to us again. I would rather have heard that Emerald was scared from her own mouth, and then you can have Ren say that she's telling the truth. That would have had much more impact for sure. This is what I was talking about in the episode 7 analysis. And granted, this is on the more minor end of the scale, but we can't keep doing this thing where we have a character robbing important emotional beats from other characters for the sake of him appearing awesome. Ren is already awesome. He doesn't need to be doing this all the time. That could have been a big moment for Emerald, and instead we're focusing on Ren and this evolution of his semblance. Think about this. Could you imagine if Blake and Yang finally put their feelings for each other on screen because he prompts it by reading their emotions? Or imagine if he stands in front of Salem and explains her emotions to us. Can you imagine those scenarios? Now, stop imagining and do your best to forget them, because those scenarios sound awful. Please do not do this, writers out there. Allow your characters to grow and reach their own conclusions. Do not have a third party explaining their conclusions for them. The frustrating thing is that writing for this Atlas arc has been so good on the whole, it really shouldn't need to use a crutch like this, or at least threatening to use it like this. I'm sorry, this just really bugged me. Ren using his semblance to explain someone else's feelings absolutely kills the drama. Look, with all that said, I'm not going to trip too hard over this moment with Emerald.
Are you sure about that?
It was a very small part of the episode, and the dialogue in the rest of the scene helped carry the scene as a whole to a pass mark. I just really worry about how heavy-handed they could be with this technique if they wanted to. That's all. I'm done with that. Moving on. I appreciate Winter's position. It'd be hard enough under normal circumstances, but so much has happened to her by this point in the Atlas arc. It's like the last thing you need when you're trying to be in command of this sort of situation is to be going through a mini emotional crisis. Maru asked her a very good question regarding Weiss, but Winter's reaction to it just melted me. It's unsettling to see Salem fight, or really just moving around quickly at all. She's always been so deliberate. And then she snaps into action with a quickness, like a snake, you know? Or whatever other kind of animals use that sort of wait and strike style. And that's just the beginning, because then you get her with stretchy arms and the flexy body, and of course just rebounding from whatever mortal wound she sustains. It's actually interesting to see that she feels pain, and also that she can't take that much damage before she's quote-unquote killed, because her thing is just coming back like nothing happened. Apparently one must never underestimate Yang's ability to minimize someone else's trauma. I get what she was saying though. Salem has killed a lot of people, either by proxy or directly, but that actually brings up an interesting question. Would Salem be as much of a killer if people actually didn't resist her mission? Then again, her mission would end with everyone dying anyway, so maybe it isn't an interesting question after all. I'm sorry. Summer Rose, Summer Rose, Summer Rose. Been a while since Yang was the one to bring her up too. Shows you how she feels about Raven at this point. I appreciated that little moment between Emerald and punished Hazel. He clearly sees her as a younger sister kind of figure, and in just a few scenes together, he's shown her more care than Cinder ever has in their time together. That was nice, seeing their bond get brought back around. Some of the beats in this whole fight were really cool. Let's see, we have Yang blowing Salem's whole shit open. We have Hazel uppercutting Salem into oblivion after giving Oscar back the cane. We have Hazel going all punished mode with all that dust. We have him dropping a dust boulder on Salem and then caving in her face. We have Salem recovering and pounding Hazel's head into the ground. We have Hazel and Salem locking each other up for Oscar to launch his ultimate attack. The action was brief, but the beats in it were nice. I liked the touch at the end of Hazel lighting himself and Salem on fire as well. The whole burn the witch thing goes way back to the original witch hunts. It's a bit of a reminder that everything in these animated shows is done for a reason. Some good symbolism wrapped into all of it. Okay, Alright, so what happens next? And not in a what's coming next in the story kind of way, I mean specifically what happened in that big whiteout. I can't believe that Oscar's attack just ended Salem somehow. It can't have been that easy. Maybe it was just about incapacitating her long enough that they could create more distance between themselves and her. Surely he'd know that that's the best he could realistically hope to do to her. And what does an attack that devastating do to Hazel? You know, this fight felt like a bit of a last stand for him, and it certainly looked like he knew that the way he interacted with Emerald. Of course, we can't actually know that for sure. I'm just putting the possibility out there, because even though RWBY isn't exactly the most bloodthirsty show, killing off Hazel would not be out of left field. Though I say that, now I'm thinking about all the people that have actually died over the course of this show. Okay, so it was pretty easy to guess that we'd be coming back to this storyline for this episode. The next one is a bit trickier, largely because of what happened at the end of this one. I think it would be good for us to see the immediate aftermath of this fight, rather than we just be left wondering about something so important for another week. A follow-up wouldn't have to be that long either. What else? Winter and the Aesops can drop off the bomb, though I think they might hold that off for the 11th episode. I don't know. Maybe we can see what happened to Crow and Robin after the breakout. That storyline's maybe been my least favorite this season, just on account of how sporadic it's been. So I would hope that we get its next part in the next episode. Oscar aside, I just don't see us going straight back to Yang's Boom Squad. And I guess the only other storyline we can get is the events continuing to unfold in the Schnee Manor. Cinder and Watts showing up to confront RWBY's squad, and Penny caught in the crossfire. You know, that storyline will probably be the major one in the next episode, but it helps to go through all the others just to get a sense of what else we might see along with it. So yeah, I'll say Schnee Manor, Crow and Robin, and maybe the immediate post-fight of Oscar and Hazel versus Salem. Oh yeah, and whatever Neo is going to be doing, maybe they'll hold that one off for much later down the line. Again, I'm so curious about what she's going to do with the lamp. Feels like anything is possible. Then again, there's always the option for this RWBY to give us a bit of everything again, like they did with episode 7, cram it all in there. It'll be interesting to see how they go. And really, there's not much point in me predicting anyway, because by the time this is out, the next episode will have already come out, and I'll have already written down my thoughts for that. But it's just a fun mental exercise for me in this moment. In closing, Witch is an episode which pays off one of the earliest storylines of this season, and in doing so turns the tables on our antagonists, for once giving us a chance to see how they act under extreme pressure, with very intriguing results. It's an episode which, continuing a trend of this season, repurposes familiar concepts and themes in order to have them serve different characters, and further flesh out this story in new ways. And shit just goes wild. I'm saying that a lot this season, but this show just keeps finding new ways to get wild. I'm just the one making the observations. Here's another one. The repercussions of the events of this episode are going to be absolutely seismic. There's a deep take for you. That's how I'm feeling. It's hard for these most recent episodes to get higher grades. It's like they're really good, but there's just enough that I feel might be missing, or enough bringing them down that I can't really go higher. It's fine though. I'm optimistic about getting to a stage where all these threads converge, all the storylines come back together. But I mean, then again, it's not like these are bad episodes. You know, we're consistently hitting above par with them this season. It was really only the second one that I felt wasn't quite there. Everything else has been really good. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.